about Phaidra experience, showcasing the university museum collections at the University of Padua. And Isabella Colpo has a PhD in classical archaeology and is acting curator of the University Cultural Heritage of University of Padua. And her researches focus mainly on iconographical and iconological problems in classical antiquity and creation, transmission, transformation of models, and also functionalization of the images in the context. So,
thank you.
I give the floor to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for inviting me in this very interesting meeting. And thank you especially to my colleagues, Loris Andreoli, Gianluca Drago, and Maria Gabriella Fornasiero for helping me in the preparation of the communication for this occasion. Now I proceed with my screen. I hope you all see my screen. Elena, do you? Okay, okay. During its 8th century life, since the foundation in 1222, the University of Padua has collected a considerable heritage, namely historical buildings and monuments, decorations, scientific, technological, naturalistic, and artistic collections. The most part of these items are actually displayed in 13 museums and several historical collections of different departments. They are organized in a university net coordinated by the University Museum Center. And the mission of the center is not only to preserve this widespread heritage, but also to increase its knowledge within the scientific community and to communicate it to a wider public. In 2012, the Ministry of the University funded a project of the Museum Center called Art, Science, Technology, communicating the technological and scientific culture in a network between a university and territory. The first aim of the project was to make the systematic cataloging of the historical heritage of the university. In that occasion, the center adopted the software Artin XML, a software commissioned a few years earlier by the Rectors' Conference for cataloging the Italian university collections on the basis of the national set of rules stated by the Central Institute for Cataloging and Documentation, ICCD. For technical and scientific reasons, 3 years ago, the Museum Center, accordingly with the competent Soprintendenza Archeologia, Belle Arti e Paesaggio, decided to join the CIGEC Web online cataloging platform of the ICCD. Briefly, the ICCD is the Central Institute of the Ministry of Cultural Heritage, which coordinates and establishes the procedures and tools for cataloging the national heritage. For each type of material, the Institute has established specific standards based on scientific criteria, and these standards are periodically updated. It's in fact necessary to point out that cataloging the cultural heritage does not consist in a simple activity of recording data, but it's a real research process that involves the autoptic analysis of the assets to be cataloged in order to record their physical characteristic, provide for the analytical description, and at the same time verify the state of conservation. The revision of the existing bibliography as a fundamental tool for a correct interpretation of the assets itself, the archival research in order to fully reconstruct the history of the property and its changes in ownership, the updating of the photographic documentation, and finally, in some cases, also the storage and physical arrangement of this asset. All these activities must be recorded in such a way that the catalog of the museum guarantees at any time to know all the collection cataloged from both a quantitative and qualitative point of view, and to respond to specific requests from the users, providing information on the collection, especially to researchers and students, but also to the broad public. In this perspective, the second aim of the project Art, Science and Technology was in fact to promote the showcasing of the university heritage to the public through the creation of digital collections in Phaidra in collaboration with the colleagues of the library system. The first problem to consider was the selection of the information to be provided to the public. Each type of standard, as stated by the ICCD, has in fact a large amount of very detailed information. In some cases, there are nearly 300 fields. Clearly, it's not always necessary to fill in all these fields, and most of them have strictly scientific relevance and are absolutely not interesting or not understandable for the general public. So it was necessary to select the fields relevant to describe an object to an heterogeneous public. For avoiding redundant and empty fields, like in this example from the digital collection of the archaeological site of Paestum recently published. Here you can see the standards of the ICCD, but you can see that many fields are empty. A team was created with the task of elaborating short cards, choosing for each standard the minimum number of fields to migrate from the database to Phaidra. The comparison with other museums which have already published the digital collection has shown that there were no standard models both at national and international level. The team worked on 4 different standards. On this basis, the IT support of the library system created the infrastructure for migrating the cards from the databases, in the first time Artin and then CJEC Web, to Phaidra, where the correct visualization of the cards is guaranteed by a specific set of labels for each different type of assets. Here in this slide, you can see on the left the national standard that we use for cataloging. Clearly, it's a very small part of it. In the center, the structure of the short template elaborated for this specific standard, and on the right, how the card actually appear in Phaidra. As you can see, there are specific labels for this standard. We must point out that about 1/3 of the selected fields are common to all the cards, while the others are specific. But in general, the logical sequence is the same for all the templates, with the 6 main common semantic sections, so to guarantee a clear and easy readability for the public. Moreover, the migration from the databases to Phaidra is automatic as soon as we change the status of the card at the end of the cataloging process. In Artin was under publication, and in Phaidra, in CJEC is scientifically verified. Finally, as output of the project funded in 2012, the Museum Center commissioned a platform for showcasing our collection organized in virtual thematic tours. In that period, Movio was not used. The infrastructure of the platform is structured in such a way that it's possible to upload objects directly in the platform or import the collections or single cards from Phaidra. In the second case, every correction made to a card in Phaidra is automatically visible also in the object of the virtual tour. Clearly, here the cards appear with a general different aspect, but the structure and the selection of the fields is always the same, as you can see. Compared to other institutions, the number of the museum's collections actually uploaded in Phaidra appears not so relevant. However, as we said before, we must highlight that each card is the result of a research process, sometimes very long and demanding. And it's based on a scientific cataloging card deposited in the National Repository of the Ministry of Cultural Heritage. We decided not to import all the cataloging cards, which are tens of thousands, but to select the most representative objects, organizing collections that are consistent by theme and respond to specific communication necessities of the moment. For example, during the lockdown period, a collaborator of the center published the collection on Palazzo Cavalli, which is the 17th century palace where the direction of our center is located and where the future Museum of Nature and Man will be set up. And this was an output of the research grant of this collaborator. In the next future, the priority will be to work also on the other standards. Actually, we use about 28 different standards for cataloging our collections, for creating the short cards in the perspective to start the migration of other collections not yet present in Phaidra. I would like to conclude by briefly presenting another case not directly related with the university museums, but where I collaborated as keeper of the historical artistic heritage. The General Archive of the university has a considerable collection of historical photos of the university buildings edified during the first half of the 20th century. About 20 years ago, the collection was digitized using a database called Icona. The database has been migrated in Phaidra, and during the lockdown, we completed the publication of the photos specifically concerning the central palace of the university, Palazzo Bo, and the seat of the Faculty of Letters and Philosophy, Palazzo Liviano. This rich collection, just a moment. Oh, sorry. Doesn't run. I had a video, but it doesn't run. This rich collection represents a very important testimony of the building works carried out between the 30s and the 40s of the last century. And it's a fundamental source of knowledge, both for historical research and for restoration work in view of the celebrations of the 800 years of the university. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much, Isabella. Thank you very much for your insight in this background work. It's very important work you are doing and your colleagues are doing. And we also know the problems with standards and so on. So it's very good that you're an expert in this field, because it's a very...
Yes. It's interesting because in Italy we have, this is a typical, for Italy, we have a specific standard, national standard, and this facilitates the communication between different museums or different collections. And we wanted to respect this characteristic also in Phaidra. So to have a common language